All right, we're going to check out a drone video for a pretty spectacular property at Panther Hollow. This is track 23, so it's 10 acres, directly borders Bryant Creek along its entire northeast side for over 300 feet. That red truck is parked in the meadow at the south side of the property. There are actually two open meadows on this property, and the balance is wooded. The rest of the property is wooded. This is obviously a wintertime drone video, middle of the winter, so no leaves on the trees. Great time to actually look at a property from the air because you can really see how the ground lays. You can see all the timber. You'll see on this property there's been no recent logging that we could see at all, which is super nice because you do have mature timber here. So we're looking basically northeasterly directly over the property. Meadow, and then timber again as we look to the northeast, and then slopes down as we go to Bryant Creek, and I'm sure we'll do a full flyover here in a minute. Now we're looking westerly. This video was actually taken before the road was completed. You can see how it curves there at the bottom. The actual road keeps going straight just below that truck and off to the right, and you'll see that I'm sure when you're out there. I believe they have that all done and they've got it widened and graveled out and all that stuff. I think in a minute we've spliced in a little aerial picture to kind of show you how this actually is situated. Yep, there we go. So we're in the meadow to the southwest part of the property there, and we're going to do a flyover over the timber. So from the meadow it'll slope down gently into the timber, then back up to that other section of meadow where it's very flat. As we keep going toward the creek, it'll start sloping down, and then as we get closer to the creek, it'll actually get steep down to the creek itself, to Bryant Creek itself. Now, there's a topo map that's showing us basically just what we told you. So from the meadow at the south side, sloping down, that shows a little creek bed toward the south side of the property. Probably a tiny gravel creek bed there, like a seasonal creek bed maybe. But there is a trail that goes right up to the second meadow, and you can see that if you check out the ground video that we posted. Power and phone are nearby. Actually, the old farmhouse itself is just a few hundred feet east of the property. But you definitely have the option for a very, very private site if you wanted to on this one. You could certainly, there's quite a bit of space where you could build in that lower meadow, that first meadow, and still be beyond the setback from the road. Otherwise, you could go into the timber, you could go into that upper meadow. You just have a lot of options on this one. Okay, so beginning in the meadow, we're going to fly northeasterly over the property and eventually, I hope, end up at Bryant Creek itself, which is a gorgeous natural creek in the Ozarks. Actually, the headwaters of Bryant Creek are about 3 miles northwest of this property, so this is toward the upper reaches of the creek. It flows southeasterly all the way down into Arkansas into Norfolk Lake. So headed into the timber, you can see how it's sloping down. Big mature timber on this property. You'll have mostly hardwood trees. I see a few cedars as well. But you're going to have a lot of red oak and white oak and hickory trees. The guys have found black walnut trees out here actually, which is pretty cool. Well, I guess that's that tiny little creek bed we saw on the topo map. Looks like it might have some water in it. Not sure about that. That's definitely not Bryant Creek. We'll keep going and we'll see that. So this video, I believe, was actually done before the guys kind of created a little trail that goes to that upper meadow. So you'll see if you watch the ground video on the listing page that we drive a truck right into that upper meadow. And that's going to be the upper meadow there. And look at that big timber on the northeast side of the upper meadow. That's awesome. So there's obviously timber value on this property. Once it's been paid for in full, you'd be welcome to log it, to use the trees to build either a log cabin or potentially mill them into lumber and do like a timber frame home. I mean, a lot of options with big timber. That's, of course, after the property's been paid for in full. Looks like two big oak trees right there. And then dozens of big oak trees as you get to the edge of the meadow. Panning around, looking westerly, and now back basically southerly. Oh, we're doing a full 360 here. Kind of dark as we look right into the sun there. In the spring, in the summer, this video would show just greenery everywhere. But like we mentioned, the bonus about doing a wintertime drone video is you can actually see the ground itself. If this were logged, you would see not only stumps, but you would see limbs and tops, and it would be very obvious if this were logged in the last several years, and it clearly has not been. So still going northeasterly. As we get into the timber off of the upper meadow, it's starting to slope down gradually, but as we get closer to the creek, it actually does get steep. And I don't know if we'll be able to see that as we fly northeasterly, but hopefully when we go back toward the truck and the other meadow, hopefully we'll get a different view of it. There you can see how it's dropping down to the creek. So that upper meadow, of course, will be high and dry from Bryant Creek, out of any kind of flood zone, which is great. And there's the creek itself. Bryant Creek is spring fed, so it's generally very clean, very clear. Other than after it rains for a day or two, it'll be stirred up. But in general, you've got a very clear spring fed creek right here. We don't call any creek year round because you just never know in the Ozarks. Some of the bigger creeks have been known to dry up from time to time, but every time we've been out here, Bryant Creek has been flowing to some extent, whether it's been super high or just, you know, more average like it kind of looks in this video. It has always been flowing when we've been out there. So now we're looking northwesterly at the creek. So land sits on the left side of the creek as we look to the northwest. And there's only about a minute or two left in the video, so I'm not sure if we'll fly all the way back. I hope we do. So there you can actually get a shot of how it starts to, as you go, say to the right from that upper meadow, it starts to gradually slope, and then as you get close to the creek, it definitely does get steep. This makes it appear as though it almost drops that last little part to the creek. I mean, odds are there would be places where you could do some kind of walking trail down to the creek, but without going out there and exploring it, it's hard to say for sure. So there's a pretty good overview actually of most of the property. You can see that red truck, which was off to the left, parked on the south side. You can see both meadows, and now here we're looking at, of course, the north side, and the mature timber going down to the creek. Once you get close to the creek bed, you're going to find enormous sycamore trees. We've seen quite a few out here. They're the trees where the top half is almost a bright white. The bark peels off the top half of those trees. I don't know if it does it annually or if it just does it when they mature, but then you've got these bright white trees that kind of pop out at you. They're really beautiful. Okay, so now we're drifting back southwesterly toward the lower meadow. That's the upper meadow, of course. Amazing property. This area is fantastic. Obviously the hunting, deer hunting and turkey hunting is just top notch. Very private, but I mean, you're only a couple hundred feet from power and phone. If you need that, it's available, so that's good to have. The mature timber is great. Harder and harder to find properties with mature timber, especially as timber prices have kind of spiked since Corona hit us. So back where we started. Awesome, awesome property. Check out the full listing page. If you have any questions, let us know.